TunePocket.com. TunePocket.com.
I do the documentary which came out. I like the way it looked. It was really fire. Um, there were some things that I did not get to say in the documentary. Are the things that I want to say right now. And so I neglected to mention that in my childhood, growing up with three brothers, we always got on to each other about anything and everything. I remember my oldest brother, he had a lot of advantages over us. I could remember whenever we wanted something from my oldest brother, he would say, we would have to say a couple of things. This is what we had to say. He would say, James is the master, the pro, and the king. That's what we had to say. And whenever we said that, he would get what he wanted. But we had to say, hey, that. That was mandatory for us to say that. But all of us didn't grow up in the best neighborhood. My oldest brother was born in 83. I came along in 85. My third youngest in 89, and my youngest brother in 91. And so we never really were in the best neighborhood, like I said, but our parents were able to keep us from those things. We all had friends within our age range, and we knew there was criminal activity, stealing, smoking going on, bullies, but our parents were able to refrain from us, keep us from that. We all played with our friends. We played basketball. We played football. We rode our bikes together. And so we had friends that we hung out with that really kept us away from that immoral stuff that really went head on in the neighborhood. I can remember my dad having several run-ins with the next door neighbor, and so much so that he confronted the mom of our next door neighbors. He confronted her several times, and I can remember when one of the next door neighbor's kids, they actually tried to stand up and fight my dad. And it was like, what? You're going to try to stand up and fight my dad? A little kid. You're going to stand up to my dad and try to fight him? Obviously, the mother heard about it. She came knocking on our door at night, and they had an argument so loud that the whole neighborhood could hear it. And I can remember my dad got slapped, which really didn't faze him one bit. I don't think it fazed him one bit, because he saw that her kids were running wild on his yard. They were running wild around the neighborhood. And whenever he tried to give them some discipline, she didn't like that. And that's where the confrontations came from. But it was around 1996 where our parents decided that we're going to move away from here. And it was late in 1996 where our parents put the house up for sale. And by the spring of 1997, we were out of that neighborhood. Yeah.
So I remember you talking about bullying in middle school and high school. Can you kind of go into that and tell me like what was going on and the type of things that you were going through at that time?
Sure. Well, it all started in 1990, the school year of 1997-98. My first day in the 6th grade, where I was going to a new school, and my first day of school, I missed the bus because I wasn't too sure it was the right bus to get on. And so there was a girl standing with me. I was about to get on. She asked, "Are you getting on?" I'm like, I'm not too sure. So I missed the bus. Come to find out, it was the right bus. But the things that I was going through at that time, it just seemed like everybody got hacked on. It just seemed like everybody got cracked on. But it just kind of seemed like I always seemed to get the worst of it. Is what it, at that time, looking back at it, it always just seemed like that. I always got the worst of it. From having my shorts pulled down to kids on the bus bum rushing me. I'm going to explain that situation briefly. Every school has these school fundraisers, and my brothers and my parents ordered some things. I got onto the bus with all of those things, and they just simply bum rushed me and just basically took everything that I had. Okay. And so, so 6th and 7th grade, 1999 being the worst year. I can remember one day I got a bald head. It was cold. It was during wintertime, and I had my head bald. And I really thought nothing of it. I really didn't. And so I'm walking to the bus stop, and I see them laughing. And I'm like, I don't know what they're laughing at, but it's sure not at me. Then when I got on the bus, I got made fun of even more. Then I understood why they were laughing. But again, I thought nothing of it. I really didn't. I don't recall getting sick at that time. I don't recall getting sick. So, but 1999 was the worst year I've ever gone through as far as a grade school. I can truly say I really enjoyed my 8th grade year. I really enjoyed my 8th grade year, Southwind Middle, which is now Lawrence Road Elementary. So the first 2 years there were very shaky, to say the least. And but I thoroughly enjoyed my 8th grade year. Moved on to high school. Got into a bad accident my 3rd day of school. After school, flipped my bike, landed head first, and I immediately blacked out. When I came to, broken big toe, cuts and gashes all over me. Lost my 2 front teeth. And needless to say, the only people who were sympathetic were the teachers. The only people who were sympathetic to what happened to me were the teachers and the students were not. And I caught a lot of venom for not having my front teeth in the classroom, in the hallways, in the lunchroom, in the lunchroom. I caught a lot. I caught a lot of flack that my freshman year. And my oldest, he was a senior. My oldest was a senior at Germantown in 2001. My oldest brother, he was a senior. So he was going out at the time where I was just getting started at Germantown. And I would say after my 9th grade year, the experience was pretty miserable, mentally at least. I have good memories of Germantown High School. I really do. I do have good memories, but you can have good memories and you can also be miserable at the same time too, which I was. I was miserable mentally, and that bled over into when I graduated. I had anger issues, which was a symptom of depression. I had anger issues. I took everything personally. Anything anyone said to me personally, I took it personally. And that was a buildup of what happened in 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, all throughout middle school, high school. That was a buildup. And that was definitely a problem early on in my adulthood, and eventually led to a suicide attempt as well too.
If you could just kind of explain to me like the type of things that you were going through at that time.
Well, I can remember the day after I graduated high school. The very next day, it was like, I graduated. Now what? Now what? You know, I didn't know what to do. And I can remember shortly before I graduated, some of the other seniors were asking other seniors what you were planning to do after high school. Other people, I know some people went straight into the military. Some people started work right away. I know for me, I kept telling they asked me, are you going to school? And I said, yeah. And they asked me, well, where are you planning on going? I said, Southwest, which I did go to Southwest. I actually did go to Southwest for a few classes, but after that, but I really wasn't that committed to school. I really wasn't that committed, so I only took a couple of courses, and after that was pretty much it. And so I guess you could say, first couple of years I was lost. After I graduated. My first job was FedEx, so I was one of the ones who was working and going to school. And I never really enjoyed the large environment out there. That was a worldwide hub. And thousands of people worked out there. More so on night side than day side. And I can remember just feeling so lost, just feeling so angry, just lost, dark. And I can remember a certain conversation that I had with my dad about, this was around 21, 22, had a conversation about me needing to get out of the house and be independent or whatnot. We had a conversation about that, and I thought about what would be the quickest way. So I thought about it for a second. Went back to my room, thought about it for a second. Okay, how do I do that? And I had never thought about suicide before. I never really thought about how to suicide before. But all of a sudden it just hit me. Bam. Suicide. That'll get me out of the house. And so that was the first time that I thought about suicide, around 21, age 22. I wanted to take a gun and just blow my brains out. Before I did that, I would leave a note for my parents to find, saying that you wanted me out of the house. Now I'm out of the house. Mission accomplished. I'm gone, and I'm gone for ever. And so that's something that routinely entered my mind. And it was around 2008 where I started working in security. And I remember I wouldn't necessarily say let go, but I got, I did. I got fired off of a post because of someone who really didn't have my back. Someone who really didn't have my back, so to speak. I made a mistake. I made a mistake at work, and I got fired off that post for it. And what happened was I went into Guardsmark, which is now Allied Universal, and I told them what had happened. They said, well, we just got a new post, international paper, and you're going to be averaging about 5 hours out there. I said, fine, okay. And knowing that I was doing part-time at FedEx, also doing part-time at International Paper. You got to remember something. International Paper had, I think, four locations around Memphis and Olive Branch. There was Willow Lake. There was the Southwind location, and then of course you had the towers, and I believe you also had the plant in Olive Branch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you had the plant in Olive Branch. So there were like 4 locations around Mississippi and Olive Branch and the surrounding Mid-South area. I know for me, I started out at Willow Lake. That's where I started out at. I was at Willow Lake. I was the bike rover. We had 2 rovers. We had the one in the vehicle and the one in the bike. I was the one who was on the bike, and so that was pretty cool. The only time that I didn't ride the bike is when it was raining. Other than that, I was on the bike, unless somebody didn't show up. Unless the other roving officer didn't show up in the and I would get the truck. to kind of stay out of the heat, whatnot. But I can remember one of these 62 who were hovers. He had died in he had tragically died in a accident, and a lot of the Willow Lake employees were coming up to me. They literally thought I was the one that was deceased, but nah, it was the 62 guy, and I remember being asked questions. They were like, "What are you doing? Who in here?" I'm like, "I'm here working." And so then they literally thought it was me who died. But it was the 62 guy, tragically passed away. And it was around 2009 when I believe I got promoted to full time at the towers, because I believe that they had lost someone. They had lost one of their rovers at the towers, and I believe I was replacing somebody. I was replacing somebody at the towers. So instead of looking for somebody else, they just came to me and said, "Would you like to go full time at the towers?" And I said yes, and that's where I ended up meeting you. So in 2009, I got promoted to the towers, and my first day out there, I just remember seeing you just sitting at the desk, and we really didn't even say hey nothing. We really didn't say hey nothing to each other, because I was primarily doing my job, so we really never really said hey nothing to each other. But I do remember, I remember this vividly. I would see you, Derek, Sam, and Will all sitting on the dock.
Oh yeah,
I remember that.
Derek.
Remember that. I would see y'all sitting on the dock every time I was underground. I would see y'all sitting on the dock every time. It just seemed like I saw that every day. I see them sitting on the dock every day. They must go on lunch at the same time. They must go on lunch at the same time. But you never knew what I was going through. The IP employees didn't know what I was going through, which I'm glad they did not. Yeah. Unlike some people. I'm not going there. I ain't going there, okay? I ain't going there. But yeah, I read this recently, where you can show up to work feeling suicidal and you can be perfectly fine. That was the case with me most days.
Yeah.
That was the case with me most days. I would show up to work in a very dark place, but I had to show up and do my job. Had to show up, do my job, and then as years went on, me and you, we just started talking about certain things. We just started talking about certain things. There was this one woman I had a crush on. I think I can talk about it now because I'm not there no more. There was a woman named Emily Nix who worked in investor relations. I had a crush. I had the biggest crush on Emily Nix. But it was just that, a crush. And there was a lot of pretty women out there, but it was around 2012, 2011, 2012, where I just started, my depression just started to get the best of me. And this bled over into FedEx too. It's really bled over into FedEx. I didn't like the working environment, the large working environment out there. Sensory overload. I was experiencing a very high dose of sensory overload. And so I had a feeling that I would be leaving FedEx, and I had a feeling that I would be leaving International Paper soon. Not just because of the problems I was having with depression and suicide. The thing that precipitated my exit from International Paper was Jose left. Jose left, and when he was gone, it was like, I'm going to. And I remember the exact day I left, August 31st, 2012. August 31st, 2012. I believe you were out a few months later. I believe you were out a few months later, which I did not know that. I never knew you who had left. You were out a few months later, and let's just say it got very dark then. I left International Paper, and I left FedEx. I was down to working one job, and so I guess you can kind of say that I followed Jose over to Central Defense. That's where he was working at the time. He left International Paper for Central Defense, and so that's where he was at that time. And it was actually him who got me on. It was actually him who got me on to Central Defense, and I had a very miserable time there. There, you may not know this, but I was actually broke when I left International Paper. I was really broke when I left International Paper, and it just started spiraling out of control for me. I was in such a dark place mentally. That I wanted to end my life by suicide. And the honest truth is that I kind of regretted not trying to end my life by suicide. I was just in that dark of a place mentally. I know immediately after I left International Paper, I didn't go to Central Defense with Jose right away. I worked in commercial sales to keep the income flowing in. Worked in commercial sales for about 2 weeks, and then that's when I joined Jose at International Paper, and my depression was just so high that when I was working for Central Defense, I would actually go into the bathroom and just sit in the bathroom for several minutes, and it's like, I just can't take this life no more. I just can't take this life no more. I just can't do it. It was just that dark, that cold, and I remember I got suspended from Central Defense in 2013, and needless to say, that was the best thing that happened to me, because that was one of the worst jobs that I've ever had. And little did I know that Jose left. Jose left that job maybe a little bit before me, but maybe a little bit after me as well. But yeah, it was just a really, really dark period. When you have nobody to reinforce to you that that everything is going to be okay, and you start to believe some of the negative beliefs that you have about yourself. And so I began to believe that I would be lonely forever. I began to believe that I would not find my purpose in life. I believe that time had ran out for me on everything. And I do not know how I kept going. I do not know how I kept going, but I somehow kept going. I had quit counseling. I had quit counseling as on top of leaving international paper FedEx. I had quit counseling and thought I was good. Then I was good for a few months. A few months went by and I was doing good mentally. But then it came back on strong with a vengeance. And I just felt like an outsider. Yeah, I felt like an outsider when it came to everything. I was suicidal every day. I'm still at risk for suicide. Even as I'm talking to you right now, I'm still at a risk because because of how I self-harmed, the suicidal behavior that I had in the past. I can remember one time I tried to light myself on fire, believe it or not. I tried to light myself on fire and I poured hot water on myself. I can still see my scars to this every day. I can still see my scars on my left arm. Now they have faded. They've really faded. The scars have really faded, but I can still clear. I can still see them very clearly, even as I'm talking to you now. I can still see my scars very clearly, and it was not a happy time in my life. After there was about a 3 to 4 year stretch where it was not a happy time in my life. 2016, 2017, 2018, still were not good for me. Still was in a dark place. I was in counsel. I had got back in counseling. I'm still there too. To this day. But it was around 2019, 2020 where I wanted to let others hear what I went through and maybe they can be inspired. So it was in 2020 where I just started my own YouTube channel about my experiences with mental health and just telling stories, solutions, advocating for suicide prevention, advocating for depression, anxiety. I remember I first got involved with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP, in 2018, I believe. And it was the time I started volunteering at the Memphis Crisis Center. And they had they hold suicide prevention walks every October. And I have been at every one ever since. I went to the one in 2018, 2019, 2020 because of COVID. We all walked from individual places and just posted them on online. But we were back together in 2021 and 2022 as well. And so, talking about my experiences, I've heard some feedback. I've heard mostly positive feedback. I've heard from coworkers. I had a friend who was a friend and coworker who told me the story of how she was addicted to meth and how depression and how meth made her depression worse. She's told me some very personal things. I've had people come up to me at the gym, tell me things that they were going through because they see the suicide prevention stickers on the back of my truck. They see that. And so I've had people come up to me about that. And it's definitely making a difference. I would say that, yeah. I would definitely say it's making a difference. Advocating for mental illness. I've done with you photo shoots, interviews, documentaries. You know, we've done all this stuff together promoting mental illness. And so there was something that took place in August of last year that really sent me into a tailspin. I remember I was asking, I remember one day I was asking my girlfriend, or who I thought was my girlfriend. I asked her, do you still feel the same way that you felt about me in 2015? And she said, yes. And so, we had dinner one last time. We had dinner together one last time, and we talked about it. She said she had been meaning to tell me that we really weren't together, but she knew that I had troubles with depression and thoughts of suicide. She knew that. And she had been meaning to tell me. And she didn't want to hurt my feelings. And so by asking her that, do you feel the same way about me that you felt in 2015? I think that took a ton of pressure off of her. Because now she didn't have to worry about, am I going to go into a tailspin? And so she asked me, would I hurt your feelings if I told you that? And I said no. And she said, are you sure about that? Would I really hurt your feelings if I told you that? I said no, I really wouldn't, because I got the impression that that year by year, this kind of didn't feel like a relationship, more felt like a friendship, hanging out every Friday. And so she said, and she asked me, do you still want to, I hope we can still continue the relationship. I said, sure. Absolutely. We can still continue the relationship. And it was around this time where I met somebody on Instagram, which should have been a red flag. She claimed she loved Jesus Christ. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a woman with a biblical Christian worldview. And I'm looking at her photos. I'm like, her body is banging. She loves Jesus Christ. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And we just began talking through Instagram. And she asked me for $20. She asked me for $20, which in my mind was weird. Consider the fact that we had just met. She asked me for $20. Thought that was weird, but it's $20 is $20 can be blown in 2 minutes. So I said, why not? Gave it to her. She kept asking me for money. Kept asking me for money. Kept asking me for money. Kept giving it to her. Kept giving it to her. Kept giving it to her. And at some point, I said to myself, is this really Christian behavior? Do women really keep on asking for money? Is that Christian behavior? And it was started to be in the back of my mind. It started to be in the back of my mind. This woman's catfishing me or scamming me. This woman's scamming me, catfishing me. That was always in the back of my mind. And I remember she asked me to open up several credit cards. I did it. I did it. So you got to remember, at this time, I'm still living with my parents. My dad had retired years earlier from work. He was retired. He sees everything that comes. He knows. He sees every piece of mail that comes through that house. He sees every piece of mail that comes through that house. And it was around October where I kept getting letters about credit cards. And I came home from work one night. And he asked me about it. And it was like God was saying, listen, I'm telling you, this woman's catfishing you. Okay? If you have it in the back of your mind, but you still don't see it, it's like I'm about to show you you're being catfished. I'm about to show you you're being catfished. And so my dad asked me about it. Couldn't lie to him. Told him everything. Said I was being played, which I 100% agreed with. And we talked about it for a while. And I remember asking a friend to, after I got done talking to my dad about it, I remember asking a friend to. I texted her and I said, I need your help with something. Well, what is it? I said, if a woman keep on asking you for money, she claims she's a Christian, is that a redhead or a flag? She immediately texted me back, yes, that is a red flag. And she was like, hey, don't send her one more dime, period. Okay? And so, what's the best way to cut her off? Just cut her off cold turkey. And she was making my life live in hell, to say the least. I remember at the walk for suicide prevention, I was really having the time of my life. I was really having the time of my life because I just felt the love, the warmth, the togetherness of people who were united in suicide prevention. So I was having the time of my life. It was just a very warm feeling at the walk for suicide prevention. So I was having the time of my life. While I was having the time of my life, she was consistently blowing me up, asking me for money. So I'm halfway having the time of my life. I'm halfway miserable, 50-50. And it wasn't till late October that I said that in my mind I said, fuck this slut. Fuck this bitch. I am cutting your ass off. So I cut her off. We were communicating through Google Chat at the time. And I deleted the app on my phone. I deleted her app. And after that was over, that's when my mental health just went into the toilet. My mental health just went into the toilet. Not only that, I was still going through a rough time financially, and even more so. And I was so angry at myself. I was so angry at myself and angry at her, as if to say, how the hell could you be so stupid to even fall for that? And to me, it just confirmed everything that I thought about myself. I'm stupid. I'm a nobody. This is why you'll always be alone. If you weren't depressed, you never would have fallen for that. And I remember I went and got a knife. I went and got a knife, a really sharp knife. Got a sharp knife, and I placed it back under my bed. I placed it back under my bed. And I remember talking to my counselor about that. And I said, does getting scammed a form of trauma? And she said yes. He said yes. And I still haven't gotten over that. I still haven't gotten over that because of the money I lost and the massive hole that she left me in. That's what makes me angry the most. That's what makes me angry the most. The hole that she left me in and all the money that I lost. That's what makes me angry more than anything else. And I'm on the road to recovery, but Some days I just want to get a knife and end it all. But I'm still here, talking to you, talking to the audience. I'm still here, and just gotta, keep going. That's all you can do.